Good evening and salutations, my BNB fans. You know, BNB, utter mess. And somehow, I still find it entertaining. And I think it's mostly due to the fact that this show has been on as long as it has been. And they produce episodes like this, and everyone in the writing team and the directors, they're all sitting there looking at this episode being like, yeah, no, this is good. Like, for instance, this conversation between Eric and Brooke, which is laughable, by the way, because this is something that I've noticed about B&B. They'll have not just pointless conversations, but conversations that are very muttered and don't really go anywhere. And sometimes it's like, okay, I'll give you an example. So Eric says that, Steffi had a hard time losing her dad. What happened to her dad? Did her dad disappear? Was he lost in the mountains or something like that? What do you mean that she had a hard time losing her dad? Then Brooke is like, yeah, they got divorced, kids, they deal with a lot through divorce and stuff. But I'm just like, okay, so they had a divorce. It didn't mean that she lost her dad. Like stuff like that, where I'm just looking at the writing, like how did she lose her dad because they got a divorce? Now, maybe some of y'all can sit there and clear that out for me, but like little things like that don't seem like it's really that significant. Is like, was that a typo? Were they just pushing the writers too hard? Because even that sentence didn't make any sense. And all this conversation comes down to is talking about Taylor, um, making sure that she doesn't feel insecure, trying to be friends with Taylor, and all this other stuff. Just to walk in on a conversation with Steffi and Ridge, and Steffi Smith is saying that Taylor needs him. What do you mean Taylor needs him? Why do you feel the need to guilt him into spending time with her as though he's not going to spend time with her already? This is my thing about Steffi, right? About this conversation with Steffi and Ridge. First of all, why the hell are you sitting there giving him the third degree? Well, what's going on with mom? I mean, don't you know something? What's up? I mean, I feel like she's off. Do you know something? Why don't you ask her if you feel like there's something off? Why do you sit there and talk to her? But you're gonna sit there and practically interrogate your dad to try to get some sort of mystery information out of him? And then she does this thing. She's been doing it for a while, which has really irked me, right? So she talked to Hope earlier, I guess a couple of days ago. She was like, listen, I'm not trying to interfere or anything like that. But then she'll sit there and drop a bomb and be like, but my dad and my mom, they do have a special connection. What is that supposed to mean? You just said, so you're basically saying, well, I'm not going to do anything. But I mean, most likely they're going to get back together. That's what you're sitting there doing. And this is something that just irks the living shit out of me. Because it's like, she's not stupid. She knows exactly what she's doing. And maybe that's some sort of underhanded dig or just a way to sit there and piss off Hope. And she did that today with Ridge, where she says, well, don't worry. I'm done meddling. I'm done trying to get you two back together. But I have to ask you a question. You don't really need to ask the question since you just told him that you're not trying to get them back together. That's like this bullshit way of, well, I'm not trying to get you back together, but I'm going to ask you a question that basically wants me to, that me want you two to get back together. That's what you're doing. She's like, well, you and You and mom, y'all always had a special connection, a special energy and stuff like that. And, why aren't you back together with her? What? How do you sit there and say that in the same breath, in the same conversation, that you're not trying to get them back together, but you're doing this underhanded way of trying to get them back together, like asking him those type of questions, and also putting him on the spot. And by the way, you do understand how messed up that is, right? That you know damn well that he's with Brooke, and yet you're still going to ask those type of questions. And of course, just the propping up Tara. She has such a good heart. She's such a good person, and this, that, and the third. And it's like, okay, yeah, we get it. Tara's Wonder Woman. Can we just move past that? It just, I don't understand. Can y'all please tell me, for the hardcore fans of this show, how do y'all just sit there and get past that? Because that's gotta be annoying. That's gotta be annoying. Anyway, Brooke overhears this conversation, and she has that look of insecurity and everything like that that comes up. Um, and again, for the most part, the Eric and Brooke. Which, by the way, listen, I know that at one point Brooke and Eric were a thing, right? And then she went to be with Rich. Okay, fine. I'm not gonna knock it because I'm not knocking the relationship between Jason and Anna. Um, they're a sexy couple, and I am with it. Okay. You want to tell me why you think it's actually okay for Brooke to sit there and kiss Eric on the lips? She didn't kiss him on the cheek. She kissed him on the lips. And I know it was more like, oh, I love you, and everything like that. But certain things I'm just like, that shit is not okay. Like, that's really not okay. And speaking, well, Liam, Hope, Beth, and Carter. Carter, you should have just left, okay? You were hanging out at the door like a weirdo. You sitting there saying, well, I don't want to interrupt. So you come in there, and then, after a while, you're like, oh, I feel like I'm interrupting family time. Well, now you're just being awkward. Now you're just being awkward. You should have just left instead of just walking in there to have some pizza or whatever. What are you doing? But of course, he came in there, and Beth wants to sit there and see what his job was like or something. So he takes Beth away, so this way those two can talk. But this is what I'm talking about, right? Like, the whole plot thing. So you had to sit there and get Beth out the room, so Liam and Hope can go down memory lane. And Liam's like, listen, we did all this stuff to be together to end up like this, right? So it was somewhat of a serious conversation. But in order to do that, you had to sit there and get past the part that Carter shouldn't even actually have been there. Once he said, you know what, it's family time, I'm interrupting, I got things I gotta sit there and do properly, just to kind of get himself out of the situation. Instead of him being all weirdo and awkward, and I don't want to sit there and say creepy, but just weirdo and awkward and coming in there just for him to once again say, well, I'm interrupting family time, in order to get Beth out so you can have a conversation. Like, things like that. It, it's like episodes like this. It just makes me like, it's laughable. It's laughable, and I just listen. I know the show was probably better back in the day, right? And granted, we could sit down and say it about all the shows, all four of them that are left. But and by the way, another flashback, because, we need to sit there and find a way to expand that 30-minute mark. Stuff like that, the unnecessary flashbacks, the recycled dialogue. There's sometimes where you have characters there that have a pointless conversation to fill in a gap of time, Things like that just makes me wonder, how is this show still on the air? Now, I've had conversations with DC Slope Sanctuary, and one of the things he says is that, Dubai is like, that's really big over there, right? And it must be super big over there because one of the things about Dubai, just a little FYI, is that they don't really accept the LGBT lifestyle, which is why on this show, you don't have any LGBT members. You may have a scene where they're doing a press conference and maybe one of the influencers might be LGBT, but not actually saying it, right? Like you could just, you see it, that this person is an LGBT member, but they're not saying it. But they don't have any characters on there that are LGBT characters because it's one of their big marketplaces is Dubai. Maybe that's another reason why this show is actually still on the air. That is the general gist of this episode. I did take a rest night yesterday, but tonight I will be back with my live streams. Okay. Doing my live stream tonight, 8 p.m. Eastern, 5 p.m. Pacific, and we'll talk more about Bold and the Beautiful, General Hospital, Days of Our Lives, and Young and the Restless, because I got some stuff about Young and the Restless. Um, with that being said, I'm going to go. I'll see you in the next video and live stream, and if I missed anything, write in the comment section and let me know what you liked or disliked about this episode.